Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANS processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Sorry, bear with me a second here while I get my file to work properly. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having some difficulty with that. I had it prepared, but it's not playing at this moment. I'm going to try once again, but I think we're having some technical issues. Yes. Okay, I've got the video, so it'll work sufficiently. This is an excerpt from the 4th Kids Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and it's with Mr. Keshe describing the way the fields of the universe work.
We talk about is that at the present, to communicate between two entities like the Earth and the Moon, the Earth or the Saturn, we have a time delay because of usage of whatever waves we use. But in fact, with the new era in technology and in this plasma technology, in the time of the youngsters of now, this problem will not exist in 2 ways. First of all, now that we have start understanding the plasma, it means you will receive the communication instantaneously. So we are reaching the zero-time communication. This has been a dream of men of communication for decades. I was explaining to my children recently, in a few hundred years ago, to pass a message, you had to wait for months for a letter to go through. The rich people manage, or the governments manage, to bring what you call marathon now, for people to run fast enough to take a post from one post to another for the next man to run. And now, with the new age of electronics in past 50 years, we have passed the point that we can communicate in a very easy way. Since 1844, when Bell made the first call, now we have come to the point we can send messages across the more or less solar system. But it takes time, a lot of time, because we use the property of electrons. We don't use the property of plasma. Now that we understand the plasma technology in a much more comprehensive way in the past few months, so what will happen is that the communication reaching on the gravitational magnetic field of the plasma will be instantaneous, which means whatever this plasma sends out instantaneously is received by the other plasma, because their magnetic field is already connected. You are not sending a message to be received. You are literally getting on a bandwagon which is going at a speed beyond a man's imagination in a magnetic field, gravitational field, and you reach to the other plasma. So the communication time from now on is zero anywhere in the universe, as long as you can link up with the gravitational magnetic field. What happens is, on a magnetic field, which is the field which is going out of the plasma, you get on the bandwagon or on the magnetic fields of the other plasma gravitational field. So it pulls you in straight away. And when you send a message from the smaller planet, another destination which has a magnetic field with this place, automatically as the field goes on the magnetical, which is the repulsion of this planet, it gets on the gravitational field, magnetic field of this planet. So communication is instantaneous into the man's age of understanding. Even though in the plasmatic magnetic field is a slightly time delay, but it's so minute that you can get instantaneous communication anywhere within the universe. So now, as the youngsters, you will see the change. You will feel the change. You will understand totally communication different than our computer wizards and all the technologies which is available today. So what it is, what does it implement? What does it mean to us? Today, and since yesterday, the knowledge seekers in the foundation, 2 of them, have entered this line of work, this line of communication. What it means is that they, being like on this small plasma, by thinking in being able to get on the magnetic gravitational field of the other plasma, could, through their thoughts, decide how they wanted that this system, this plasma, to behave. To go faster, to lose weight, to go up or to go down. And this has been recorded on a live stream. So even to us, who we think we are on the edge of technology and science, from past 24 hours, the present communication technology has become obsolete. We have 2 people who have tested this technology, and in time for you, in the coming months and years, this will change a lot of things for you. as you are now with your age addicted to computer games and to what you call different consoles, you will find that the games will change totally. Once the world of science and electronics are present, find and become more expert in use of plasma, then you'll find out you don't even need the connections to your systems. So you find out that you don't need to pay a fortune to buy a game, because you can literally link up to one game right across the world with millions of people on it playing at no cost. Learning of different languages will become much, much easier if you understand the use of this. Communicating and being able to be part of the new world of plasma communication will change for you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 568th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 12th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I will be host once again in this endless series of workshops. And once again, of course, we have the pleasure of having Mr. Mehran Keshe as our main presenter and teacher here today. As we saw in the intro video, which was an excerpt from the 4th Kids Knowledge Seekers Workshop from October 29th, 2014, just over 10 years ago. And it's very much the same teaching that's applicable today, I find. And that one just happened to come across my attention recently, so decided to show it. It was a little awkward because I had a nice musical intro and exo of it, but unfortunately that didn't play properly. Maybe next time. Anyways, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to go for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here today?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers program from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We welcome you back, as usual, and we try to add to the knowledge. Very interesting. As I said, I don't know how he does it, but usually he picks something up, even like this, teaching of some 10 years ago, which connects to the teaching of today. How it happens, I haven't found out yet, but somehow souls link things up. today's teaching is about plasma connection, how plasmas connect, and how we connect our lives to the past, to the future, and how what we thought in past few weeks gets an additional extension of understanding. What does this mean? We spoke for the first time about carbon-13. We have been speaking in the world of science, has been thinking about carbon-14, and they call it the carbon dating, that it shows what time, where the dinosaurs lived and how many years ago and the rest of it. And even our carbon dating is carbon dated because there is a logic, and there is a system, there is an operation in the life of the universe. How the fields communicate. We communicate in the world of the man in the matter state as voice. We communicate as colors, which is again matter state. We dream and communicate in carbon-13, which is line of communication. Carbon-14 is the line of transportation. But there has to be a deeper understanding. If we said there is no more teachers, so we have to learn about everything before the teacher is gone, and we understand comprehensively the process of the creation, that no one can cheat us in the space. We don't get more magicians and people interpreting, because you understand, you do. Rick, can I have a whiteboard? What it is and how we have explained in past few sessions, we're going to extend on this knowledge, the same as what we did with the children. Now you are those children, and you are in that position. 10 years later, what we saw as explaining how magnetic fields connect, and you don't need to go time zero. Many of you now use it. Now you have access to cosmic ray bundles, you have Ubisu lines, and you've seen it in operation. You come to us with a headphone, you just connect us physically to your brain, and we take over through cosmic rays, through world of plasma. We connect, we get you to dream, you call it, but we take a dimension of energies of your brain to different dimensions. So 10 years ago, talk. Now it's a reality with us. This is what I said to even Musk, recent announcement that now his satellites are in operation. I thought, oh boy. When we sat with the Chinese generals some time ago, we put the system on the table. We said, you can talk to other general, you can talk to the president. Nobody will know because you need no satellites. So we are even maybe 50 years ahead of the latest, which is now supposed to be communication between everybody and cost millions. But we build a system. In fact, you have a system. It's called your brain. It's called your soul. You can do that. Once you understand the reality of not cheating yourself. It was coincidence. I was gonna go there, and coincidentally I thought I've done better, and then the accident happened. I thought I'd go and my mom would be there, and she was there. There's no coincidence, because you have that line of communication, which they have made you think is coincidental. But in fact, it's a part of reality. And we go back to the history. The king had a dream, the guy is gonna come and he's gonna lose his kingdom, and then he became Moses. He killed everything else because the souls knew, the understanding of the time was there. But go back to the teaching of last week, the other week before. We explained in a very simple language that we all understand that we as people have the capability of extending our knowledge to a different level. What does this mean? Go back to the teaching. We have what we call hydrogen. We have a hydrogen as a plasma. We have a hydrogen as a matter on Earth. How does this plasma convert through steps into matter? Hydrogen in a space, hydrogen above us is a plasma state, has no physical dimension. Something happens to it, which we call, in a way, in this process, gravity or inertia of the matter, according to the point. So inertia takes place, and now a plasma changes to two plasmas, which is the strength of the observation and the strength of the existence in tangible level. So the inertia of the space and time changes a plasma to a matter state. This is how we said this in the promised books. When we speak to the world leaders, I keep on telling them, this technology, this science fulfills all the promises of the past, because now we understand how energy is transferred to matter and how matter is transferred back to energy. One on a magnetical line and one on gravitational. Gravitational, time, place, and space. What we call in the space of time, inertia at the time, place, and position. But what happened when this little boy decides to go rogue and this plasma of hydrogen goes the other way, interacts by the field of itself, and in that dimension and position it creates what we call the universe. In one level, now this becomes what we call the space of itself, carbon-60, and direction of communication of itself to make it carbon-14. But there is another pattern to this, because what we said, go back to the what we call understanding of the back of the book of number 3. Where does this, what we call plasma of time, comes to exist, that in its direction and in its position, we become aware of another cycle of life. What does this mean? This means that we have become educated. Somehow I cannot control the drawing, Rick. You have. I'm trying to annotate. Just lost it. So I tried to get it back.
I'm not sure what to do there. I didn't do anything, but
No, I think I pressed forward, change colors, and it went somewhere wrong.
must be something, some other button you can push.
Okay, we got it back.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. But we understood that in the cycle of change, in this position, we have no extension, which means a plasma without inertia, but plasmatic inertia, which is different than the matter inertia, leads to dimension of the size of and creation of what we call universe, which we know, which we have, which we consider to be part of our work. Here, originally, when the hydrogen went through the inertia into matter state, we saw it as an electron and a proton became matter state. So there had to be an inertia above our universe to lead to the creation of our universe. So we have to find out the inertia, the plasmatic magnetic field of the unicos, that our universe, the same as the matter state was created out of its interaction, with the interaction of itself leads to creation of what we call this matter, or what we call the unicos. So carbon-14 belongs to dimension of our universe, which is this guy. But the interaction of our universe magnetic fields with the original hydrogen fields leads to creation of a bigger strength. What we know, what we call in a dimension of the life of this planet as what we call carbon-16. Carbon-16 has never been spoken about because we never understood it. And again, as we said, in carbon-14 to carbon-12, we have carbon-13, which is a communication line. Then on carbon-15, we see the communication line of the unicos. So when man becomes knowledgeable about carbon-14, then to travel the span of the unicos, we need to go an interaction of the fields of the universes, which leads to creation of carbon-16, which itself creates what we call additional to carbon-60 plus and the rest, which are few months ago, I spoke about this other than going higher than carbon-60. So now we understand the level of stepping down from carbon-16. We talk as a plasma, not as an electron and protons and neutrons. Electron and proton and neutrons is in this bottom level, nothing to do with the world of creation of the existence and confirmation of the time and the space. So we are able, when we extend, to say, we saw something, it was a strange animal, blah, blah, something I saw. Then it comes. Now, was it connection between your solar physicality and physicality? You saw a physical image. Then we spoke about the travel of the soul of the man in a dimension of the universe, which is again on carbon-14, and the communication that comes out of carbon-13. Then you have to ask yourself, how much of my dreams, because I'm part of this original hydrogen connection, is with the unicos civilization? And as your inner sanctum energy levels, what we call the soul of the man, is made of carbon, hydrogen, then we see we always had access to the knowledge of the unicos. We most probably, all of us in one stage or another during our life, have traveled to this dimension. But as we are ignorant to the knowledge, we just had a dream. Now, as the science develops, as the technology develops, we can create dimension of field strength in these levels of hydrogen in interaction of the structure, that the inertia of the unicos leads to the creation of the universe. We had the inertia of the planet, of the galaxy, of the universe, bringing carbon-14 to carbon-12. Now we understand there is a bigger structure when we talk about the unicos, what it is. Now we understand the tangibility of it. And this is why in all the teachings for years I said, if they tell us that this universe is traveling at 1 million kilometers an hour, and it's expanding, it has to expand in something. It cannot be in a vacuum. And now we understand how this creation of the creator of the fields of the structure of the universe leads to creation of even matter states in our universe through the conversion of the inertia of the unicos. The way the inertia of the universe leads to creation of what we call carbon-12, intangibility, field strength. Now we understand better view of the world of creation. And if you look at the bottom line in this line here, then you see you have as much connection to the creator and the original plasma as the universes and the unicauses which he created. As Rick just showed us, those two plasmas next to each other on the table was explained the childish way 10 years ago. Now you are more educated, we can speak deeper, even though you're still children of the knowledge of the universe. You understand a little bit more. Within the systems which we have developed, we already, unknowing to our knowledge seekers, work in a dimension of carbon-16. You have to understand, there is a huge difference between carbon-16 and oxygen-16. But in the plasmatic condition of the transformation of the space, then it raises the question, how come man, how come this planet works on the field strength of 16 in the gaseous plasma state? Now we understand the connection. Where I always said, magnetic gravitational field of the gaseous condition is 16, because plasma is a gaseous, is the free energy of the universe. So the universe works on the same basis. Now you can see how we are connected to the universe and the unicos without us knowing. Now we have the knowledge, we understand. Then when we go for transmutation, you go for conformation, and you don't see your physicality, but you're present, you understand why. Because you have not managed to interact with the inertia of the environment. You could be in the unicos, as you don't interact, there is no inertial level for you to convert, because you haven't understood the process of conversion is in your hand. You cannot manifest yourself in a unicos. This is why when you came to the, what we call lens, I used to tell you, can you go to the moon? And you all went, but your moon is not the moon we talk about as we know. As the second astronaut supposedly landed on the moon, in many lectures I said, we never went to the moon. It was all made up. So we have to take it with a pinch of salt, what this guy is talking about. As we all know, he denies ever being there, and even tells us pictures that you can see the cameraman taking pictures. So mechanically, we have managed to send machines. Physically, we haven't managed to transport man to the moon, man to the Mars, because we have not understood the cycle of conversion. It's very strange how man will survive in the space. Would we go and do the communication line of the physicality on a jetliner or a rocket? Or do we go through the position transformation of the creation the way the creator has done? He sends his fields, interacts with everything else, creates his own universes, creates his own galaxies, creates his own stars, creates his own planets, creates his own creatures by just stepping down by inertia. Which inertia, in a way, if you talk about it, is the interaction between the matter state and the energy state, which the scientists of the man have not even understood that part. They just call it inertia. But how is it created? It's very simple. When you talk about the salt, the salt is an inertia system. It's connection between a metal, which is a deeper than a non-metal. Sodium chloride, the salt you drink, you eat every day. Metal, chlor, non-metal. Connection of it creates a salt. Gravity. The same goes for the inertia of the universe. We have to find the salt of the universe. We have to find the
Quindi la
salt.
connessione con questa.
Or we have to find the Italians which jump in everywhere. They are a different race. God knows where they came from, but they're always nice to have. In this process, we have to understand where the inertia comes, what inertia means. What does inertia means from the soul of the creator, which connects to us as a soul of us, and how through the connection of the fields of the transportation through carbon-14 and carbon-16 takes us to the position which is the connection still to the soul of the creator. Now we see a purpose for life. We see a purpose in the existence of the man, and we see a purpose how we are part of and is part of us as a creator. In a way, you are the builder and you are the residents of the same building as you build yourself. Where the building is built by the interaction of fields of the creator in a dimension of the higher strength, and you are the residents through the interaction of the lower level. Then the science of creation now makes sense for the first time. The question comes, which is we answered in later time when you are educated more, maybe in another 10 years, when we get to 1,400 or 500, most probably, Rick and me are still here, then we speak about our unicos being part of the bigger structure. Then that topic brings back a new dimension of knowledge. Then you understand the process of the creation and how through what we call inertia to a matter state, as the plasmas of the higher level by interaction of the fields of the earth and the sun and the moon in interaction with the inertia of the planet Earth converts into the matter gold, silver, everything else. This is why we increase volume. The same position is, this is why our universe is expanding. This is why our unicos in a dimension of magnetical fields of the creator is expanding into, because if there's a unicos, it has to have a size, it has to have a containment, it has to have something which confirms its existence. In a way, the man is a cell of, let's say, the kidney. And then this universe of us is a section of the kidney, and then a kidney is inside the body of something. So we call it the unicos, that kidney. What is, which is the holder of that kidney? What is in macro is in micro. Then, if you understand this process of conversion, if you understand this process of deliverance of the fields of the creator, what is direct and what is non-direct in the interaction of the fields of, then you understand when I tell you, when we've been teaching, that if you understood this line of connection from the creator by the hydrogen to the hydrogen as a matter, then the creator becomes the fundamental plasma, which from its interaction with other fields in its creation, as we see, we call it the nuclear decay, splitting fundamental plasma into electron and proton, leads to creation of universes of its own order. and releases energy which feeds the others. Then you understand how beautiful it is when you're a nuclear physicist, when you understand the intricacy of the creation through looking at an atom. Through an atom, you find the creator. You don't become not believing, but you become the true believer in understanding what you believe in. And this is the secret of the creation. There is no anomaly in it. There is no misunderstanding. Because we do not become without believing in creator, or God you call it, but we understand the process of the creation, that then we believe more in what it is the reality than what is the fallacy. And this is where, once you as knowledge seekers understand this, becomes the end of false belief, all the lies we've been indoctrinated with. Because now you understand the process. You understand conversion of the fields of the universe, the creator in a direct line as a fundamental plasma becomes me, and in interaction of the fields of it with itself creates the dimension of the size of the universe on the carbon-14, and the interaction of the plasma of the carbon-14 again on a higher strength with the field of the creator becomes carbon-16, but in a way of the dimension, it gives it the dimension of communication. So you make it and you communicate with it to confirm the existence of. Isn't this what we do? We get created, we have no communication, we learn a language, then we communicate, we confirm our existence, and then we transfer our knowledge to another through the line of communication. And this is the way the creator communicates his knowledge to us, but man, being ignorant, has denied everything, and the religious people have paid to the game that you play the fool, we play the master. When you understand this, they don't tell us that God doesn't exist because you become this and that. God exists, but we understand the beauty of his existence through the science, through knowledge, and not through fallacy. Now, with this simple picture, simple explanation, now you understand why I keep on telling you you're connected to the creator. But the creator has made a place for manifestation of you, which is through a process of the higher order to a lower order, which creates what we call inertia, that leads to the creation manifestation of you. You don't understand it, go back to the egg and the sperm, why one has got one something extra than the other, that the interaction leads to creation of the man, the child, the baby, the fetus. The lower comes from the creator. The higher is the dimension of higher order physicality. The interaction of the two needs to create what we call cross point, common denomination. You call it inertia, which in that process both can come to confirm the existence. It leads to creation of the manifestation of physicality, the child. So is the creation of the man from the interaction of the physical dimensions of the plasmas of the creator and the dimension of environment he created himself, which we call virgin birth, life. And there is a virgin birth across the universe. Because if you understand the process of interaction of the fields, then you understand the totality of the process of creation. I bake the cake, but I put the ingredients in, how that cake will be, how it will taste. I made the frame how that cake will look. Heart shape, square, rectangle, circle, but it's the same dough. It's me who decides in which pot to put it in. One becomes Earth, the other pot becomes Mars, the other pot becomes another galaxy in the universe. Now, maybe for the first time you understand the ambiguity and which is being created around creation because nobody ever understood. Now you understand. And from now on, you decide when you manifest, when you transmute, what inertia I need, because that inertia is dictated by the emotion of the man. My soul wants to be, my energy pack wants to be in New York, but I'm scared to leave my house. I talk big, I want to go, but really I don't want to, because going to New York, I need to create dimension extension of the energy inertia of the New York, and I manifested there. This is why most of you cannot manifest physically. It's a lack of trust, because you have not understood the process of the creation. Now you understand. The old song says, wherever I put my head is my home. Wherever the field of the creator goes, makes his own home. Does not matter in the body of the man, in the galaxy, in the universe, in the universe. You have to decide where the home is, and you create the environment of the house to home. When you travel with your body into another position, what you call a dream, you're a house traveler. When you manifest yourself, you're in a home. And home is where the love is, not in the house. Needs interaction with the lover, with the creator, to confirm his existence. This is what we call mitra, confirmation of the love of the creator for itself. Now, why I brought these teachings up in past few weeks? Because many of your knowledge seekers have started transmuting through the soul, but you don't know how to manifest yourself. Now you understand why. And now you understand why we teach you about emotion. Emotion is that inertia. Emotion of trust in the creator and not yourself. And you will manifest. Detachment. From attachment to this planet, to this physical life, brings you the emotion, which is the inertia needed for manifestation. I remember talking about this in depth a few years ago, when John Billigan was sitting in front of me. I explained to him, John, why you cannot do, because of the situation you put yourself in. And that will not happen because of. He said, I understand. And this is the biggest burden on me. Attachment to the emotion does not allow us to go through the transmutation in a way, become detached, to be attached to the trust of the creator. If you understand today's teaching, I opened another door in the science of creation. I opened this door deliberately because many of you are in the process of transmutation, but you cannot manifest in the dimension because you have not understood the emotion of trust in the creator and not in the created, which is you. Then you understand, next time you transmute, when you manifest, are you really on the moon of the man? or on the moon of another galaxy, on the moon of another universe, and God knows where. But you still survive. You still interact. And if you create the dimension of the energy of the creator and the energy of the communication or transportation line of the creator, you'll achieve producing what you call you are. Which, in fact, your body itself is a UFO as itself, but has an inertial attachment to this planet. Then, if you change that inertial attachment, which is the emotion of the creation, to another strength, the universe is your oyster. Then you understand the process of creation, which is me as a ray of the light of the creator, because it hasn't finished in me. I'm that hydrogen, but it's still in plasma, so I can carry on with. Leads to manifestation of the love of the creator, leads to manifestation of the emotion of the love of the creation, and then you understand the love of Mitra, which in fact is the emotion of the creator, which led to the creation of itself in the dimension of the physicality and manifestation of the man, or any creature in the universe, as man is not the only living things in the universe, with intelligence and with the order of reproduction. Now you understand more about yourself and about the process of creation, and not what they tell us. This guy is godless, he doesn't believe in God. We believe in God, but we understand what God is and what it leads to the creation of to confirm his existence. Atheism doesn't come out of not believing in God. Atheism comes from understanding the process of the creation, that no ether, no ethics can come in between the man and his creator. Or you call it ether, the rest. We go for a break. And I think this teaching of today will need thousands of years for man to be understood. And as more men understand, the more we realize how beautiful the creation is and how loving the creator is, that with all the beauty in his field, still sits and watches the man to grow the rest of his creation. We go for a break, and we come back. And hopefully we'll go somewhere new.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Well, that's been the first half of our 568th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 12th, 2024. We're going to take a short break with a couple of ads and be back with the second half. And in the second half, there will be an opportunity for people to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. So keep that in mind, and you can raise your virtual hand in order to ask a question. Okay, I'm just trying. There we are, finding my video. And also you can post questions in the Q&A and in the chats, both on Zoom and in YouTube. Okay, we'll just take a minute or two here to pause and be back with Mr. Keshe.
Thank you.
water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now, you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
Okay, we're back again after a short break there, and I think we're ready to engage into the next part of the workshop. And usually before the questions, Mr. Keshe has a few answers before the questions, so a few things to announce perhaps, or otherwise, as a prelude to our question and answer session. So, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to go, or was that too quick of an interlude for you?
No, that's okay. That's perfect. I'm getting used to it.
I know we're going to have, as you mentioned to her, have a bit of a shorter, or at least we're limited in time today. So
we finish by around 11:30. We have to do. What is interesting, if you listen to the first part and then you listen to just the first commercial part, that brought you a lot of knowledge. We call water H2O. And if you go in the dimension of the universal energy containment, which is carbon-16, which is oxygen, and then you understand the hydrogen is what you call in the plasma state, matter state, the line of creator, then you can see how the water runs and how the love of the creator runs in this universe. In the dimension of physicality, it takes tangibility of liquid. In the dimension of plasma, is the river of creator's love, what is created. Then you understand how he reigns on all of us, which is us part of him, through the river of life or energy. On earth we call it water. Without it we can't exist. We are created out of it. And it's the same. The world of creation is created out of the same. And you see how correct the teaching of today is when you understand it in its macro and the micro. Because you have the tangibility of it. And by coincidence, the advertising of the water is there. And then you understand how you elevate yourself through the rivers of life, through what we call the water. But actually, the world of creation is in the liquid plasma of the love of the Creator, the life of Creator. On earth we call it water, in its matter state, and in the unicos we call it nitra. And then we understand more. There is no difference. It's just man is ignorant to it. And we're opening this knowledge today for you to understand how true it is. And in addition to the knowledge of the man, you have to understand the love of the Creator to be able to travel the expand of his unicos. And according to your understanding and intelligence you take from this knowledge, which is not of the creation, is very comes your. There is a small announcement, is that the Keshe Foundation has entered a new science and technology as of actually today, and we collaboration with the wellness centers and the doctors who work with us, we have moved into what we call declustration. What it is, it means when you have clusters, you can open up, you can tune into it to do. Does not matter what you call it in the body of the man and where it manifests. We have started trials in collaboration with the doctors and the wellness centers, the new process of de-inertializing, which means changing the inertia to the position, changing the salinity to not inertia, in a way going back from the matter state to energy. This has huge implication and application in wellness, where you have lumps, you have process of the things which is not supposed to be in the body, and they take a specific way to be created. And for the first time, the wellness center of Keshe Foundation, as of today, have started that process. Testing, which means within matter of short time, could some be minutes, some could be weeks, you can degenerate, you can reverse the what we call the inertia, the what we call the calcification or matter state conformation within the body, which means, let's say, if you have a bullet in your muscle, how, if it's made of natural product of your own body, we can return it back to its energy. You give it any name you like. So this is a process which, as I said, our systems have set to process as of today, and we watch to how well we understand and how well we can change and confirm the transition from matter to energy and energy to matter within the body of a life. It could be a dog, it could be a cat, it could be a stone, it could be a tree. So those of you who have been waiting for this process to be what we call developed, now is developed and it was set as of today. And if you speak to the wellness centers, the doctors will take you through it. There's not much you need to do. We do things from our end. And it's for you to test and try. If you approach the wellness centers for these conditions, go back to them, because it's a new opportunity has opened as of today. And we shall see how things will take shape. Is there any questions? We'll try to answer, and we shall see. Or are there any questions?
I'm just going through our list here in YouTube. There's from Lasardio. Are there any news on the delivery and production of the electric gas power unit?
Yes. We are in the process of doing it. One of the units is going for testing as we speak. And then we should be able to do. It's going to be tested by government. It's not in the hand of the Keshe Foundation. Once it's tested, confirmed, then it'll be mass produced, because we have to get these things confirmed by the government. You have to understand, when we launched the gas electric, it was to get this into the market, but you have to understand, anyone who has tampered or tried to get into this game of energy has been killed, or things has happened to them. I was talking to one of our knowledge seekers a few days ago. If you look at it, today, we are pushing for electric cars. And we have Tesla, which I said very soon. I already informed Mr. Tesla will offer $2 for Tesla company very soon. Very, very soon, maybe sooner than you can think, because it has no value, because it's electric cars. If you look at it, in 1940s, 1930s, there were 30% of the car market was electric cars. And 40%, 60%, sorry, 50, 60% was petroleum cars. What happened? Today we are 5%, if we are lucky, electric cars. They're trying to sweeten us that it's a new invention, but in fact, go back in the history of the automotive, 30% of the cars people drove was electric. What happened? Morgan Stanley and others decided there's more profit in oil, so we shut it down. Now, the reason they're pushing the electric cars is because there is more profit in oil with electric cars. When you can burn the oil without spending more money to refine it to become a fuel in the tank of a car, you can burn it in the pure states of what we call the Russian ships, which, if you know, Russians and some of the ships are still using what we call tar or whatever else. You make more profit because now you change it to electric, you need more of it, you make bigger profit. And now Morgan Stanley and people like this have decided we make more profit, let's call it electric. It's the same if you lived in England a couple of decades ago. If you had a diesel car because there was advantages for the government, diesel was cheaper. And then it reversed. Now they want to play another game, diesel is more expensive. It's the same fuel, the same cost, the same thing. So, and then you go back to power production on the gas side. The gas was not so favorable. Now is very favorable in a way of moving, because Americans cut the hand of the Russians from Europe. And then now they only can rely on the Americans to supply the gas, liquid gas, so Americans make profit. The sanctions are more heavy on the Russians, that they close the things, and most of you know, if you're in the oil business, as of 20th of December, in a few days' time, no country, no bank can pay Transneft or the, what we call the Russian pipelines for gas. And this pushes everybody to go to America and Qatar. But I inform you a surprise. Very soon, this will not be a market anymore. And it's because of gas, electric power generators with the Keshe Foundation is putting into the market. We had to join bigger boys that Keshe Foundation was provider of technology, and the big boys in petroleum play the games of marketing. And you will see now why we delayed it, because if we would have pushed it to deliver it, it would have been the demise of the foundation, and most probably my life, which they've tried a few times. But they stay, let the government, let the big institutions do the work. And very soon you will see your gas electric power. It produces energy, it produces gas, and set in a specific way, it produces water too. It's not what we're going to develop, it's already developed. And it's been tested by the Chinese Gas Corporation in Beijing last year. And we delivered 2 units to confirm. Chinese military have seen it. But the Chinese don't want to play the game because they use payment of the gas to certain nations as a means of controlling the nation. But in a month time, with a cold due to come into Western Europe, Eastern Europe, in the next couple of weeks, the world of European world will be scrambling around for gas. And I'm sure you will hear it from certain nations that they do not need to import, and the technology will switch to the plasma technology. In a way, we warned the Americans, we warned the Qatar government that say goodbye to your income. But we can't do it. Keshe Foundation cannot do it. But we got bigger brothers who can do the job. And you will see the units very soon, in a very big way. And we'll see how it comes. And people who are in the work with the Keshe Foundation, they know the units. We took the units, 3 of them, to the Chinese military and Chinese government. And then we realized why they are playing games. Because it means the loss of the control over what they call political, economical situation. And now this is out of the hand of the everyone else, and it's in the hand of people who can actually do the job. And you will get your systems, and you might even get the refund for part of it, because when they were mass produced, it won't be as much expensive as we built it, but it could be, and prototypes and first earlier stages will be that expensive. So don't ask it when. It's already, we could have actually given you one a few weeks ago, a few months ago. But once it comes out, it will be the demise. It will be what they did with Tesla. What they did with the other guy who came up with the hydrogen water cars. We are wise to it. And a fool makes the same mistake twice. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. See. Question from Stephen. What is your understanding of the UAP or drones situation going on around the world right now? As of this date, do you believe the situation is going to move us forward in 2025 from higher reality?
There is, if you're, if you sit on the news, on the edge of the news, past few hours, past days, we heard from the American administration, people who work in it, the new administration coming in, that a large number of drones have been detected over the private residence of the new American elected president, and in other places. And interesting, when you listen to the guy who's supposed to be debriefed directly from the top when he goes on the press tour, he says that these are Iranian drones being carried by mothership. And the interviewer asked, these need to be refueled. How do they refuel it that they're over United States? And then the guy says, Iranians have got the technology in collaboration with the Chinese, that they carry the mothership. The link is somewhere on the internet. Watch it. It's very, very interesting. And one of our knowledge seekers who we love a lot says to me, now planning to attack Iran again, aren't they? When I saw this, when it came out, it was live. It was very interesting. And one of our knowledge seekers picked it up as well. is that these drones literally appear as lights. These drones appear as a star formation lights, and they disappear. And the guy's very interesting. Listen to him. He comes from the Senate, I think. He's one of the senators or somebody in one of the big committees. He says, we have to destroy these drones, but we don't have the technology because we don't know what they are. And I thought, cha-ching. The guy inviting for attacking Iran for drones, but they don't know what they are. How do you know they're Iranians? And then they say, it's Chinese mothership. This shows the lack of intelligence in the man. How can you attack to destroy? You want to attack Iran? If Iran has such advanced technology, which has come to the agreement with the Americans, with the mothership to bring hundreds of them, excuse me, why do you make F-35? And you charge $130 million for it, which cannot attack this. But the interesting thing, as I said, the interviewer asks, where do they fuel them? Because they need drones, have a time of flight span with fuel. We don't know, but we're going to find out. And these are Iranians. Get the drone brought in with the mothership of the Chinese. Now you can see the scene they're setting up for the next war. Because they got rid of Syria today. But actually, Syria becomes a bigger thorn in the back of them because, in a way, if you understand the political Middle East, these guys who took over Syria are worse than the ones, Taliban's in Afghanistan. And they're not good news for Israel. Everybody was happy. The guy's gone, but 2 days later, it sunk in. So let's destroy as much as we can. 350 missile rockets has been hit at Syria while there is no army to defend it. But soon there'll be people who will stand back up because they find out this lot are worse than the lot we got rid of. That guy was trying to support you, to keep freedom in his way. These guys bury you in the ground and stone you to death. Watch what's going to happen in Syria if it goes the way it's going. And the Iranians are going to be bigger involved in Syria than before, and the Russians, because these people find out they're going to hunt them down. The saddest part with this is that now the Christians who actually ran the whole structure of terror through Assad, now they have become target for this, for revenge, and the Christians will see hundreds of thousands of them escaping from Syria in the coming days and weeks, refugees. They said the minute the news came, the minute they sat down, what do you call it, Assad left, that European community will refuse any more refugees from Syria because they can go back. And immediately, a few hours later, comes European community except the Christians who come from Syria, because now it changed. Religious, what we call refugee, will start. We'll see massive amount of Christian Syrian Maronites coming into Europe because of it. Again, part of this is drones, how they're attacking using drone technology into Syria to do and the rest of it. It's a very interesting politics to watch, but it's interesting to watch how they're now connecting drones coming from mothership. This guy must have had a very good sweet dreams when he woke up. But on the other hand, Iran has been in possession of this technology, as we shown a few weeks ago. And now, if the process goes that you can carry hundreds of them, they sent I think 15 or 20 of them over US, and they call them Iranian drones, launched from a mothership. Is this mothership a spaceship, or is this mothership another ship somewhere in the water? We'll watch and see. But drones, as I said, with the new structure of the technology, drones with the emotion will not kill. Even drones with the emotion, when you use the materials which produce them with emotion, which you will see, and you've seen in some of the tests with us on Fridays, cannot harm. and they become part of the life of us. And in a way, some of you have already moved in that direction. Some of you who became satellites without knowing, you are that drone. But in the sense that the humanity doesn't understand. Drone with intellect, with emotion, is the future of the science, because that's how we have to go through it. But drone technology today is at infancy. Once you stop producing chips with emotion, then you understand what this means and how they operate. But you always have some steps in between. Man is going through evolution of science and technology, but once detaches itself from matter state of technology to energy, and then goes a step further of connection between the energy and matter state, it will be an amazing life. Any other question?
While we're on that part of the world, I had a question from Antonio, who's concerned. He says, Mr. Keshe, this nightmare that is happening in Gaza, do you think that it will end soon? It is hard to see this brutal situation continue, Antonio.
We see the end of it within the next 60 days, hopefully. There are huge moves to bring it to an end, but you have to understand there is only one person who wants this war to go. Nobody else. And it's amazing. One man called Netanyahu wants this war to go, that he stays out of prison. Leave it to the Americans, leave it to Hamas, leave it to the Iranian government, leave it to the Russians, leave it to the God knows whatever. Netanyahu, with the backing of United Kingdom, is the only person who wants the war to go out to keep himself out of prison. And 60 days we have, because there are political moves, and you will understand soon why 60 days. We asked for release of number of American hostages 2-3 months ago, for part of the negotiation to be opened for us, for the Keshe Foundation, for negotiation. And we might see that happening. But on the other hand, yes, there is an end to it, but we have to understand how far, and we have to understand that there is no more, what do you call, will in the United States to go with a war. You have to understand, we are not Americans, we don't support either side, but whenever Democrats come into power, there is war. Because Democrats come from the poorest side, most of them, and military expenditure makes them millionaires. Because they take a lot of bribes, they take a lot of things in it. Democrats, Republicans usually go the other way. We put a lot of options to Obama. Obama has killed more people than anybody else. He started more war than anybody else. And he's a darling of Democrats. You look Biden. Biden has done the same. Biden has hidden so much that he could carry on with the production of the killing machines. But we hope now Democrats' supports, majority in the Senate and in the House, will bring a position of peace. And we will see some skirmishes, but this religious war in Israel and Gaza will finish very 60 days is what we are hoping for, and what is negotiations are going on. Because after 60 days, we will take shape in those environments that Trump will create, but Trump needs to solve. If you go back a few years ago, in the teaching, you most probably find it. When we made an announcement through American press made for us that when we started the peace talk, another series of peace talk between Iran and America, I said, which senator, on a Thursday afternoon, I think it was, which senator in the Senate can refuse 10, 15, and then millions of jobs? Which senator can refuse 500,000 jobs, which the peace with Iran will bring, oil and the rest of it? And 2 or 3 days later in the Senate, we got the ratification and we got everything else moved. Trump has a very big problem. He wants to create peace. Now we see even Bill Gates, the biggest murderer, is somewhere there, trying to butter it up. But they have to understand they need to look for a new technology, a new diversion from the war, as I said last time, for millions of people who work in the defense industry. Otherwise, there'll be a war inside the United States. And that option, a new technology, is the Keshe Foundation. We're working, we understand what it is. We are getting the Americans to understand. Some of you have seen how in X, I input directly into, what do you call it, to the MOS. And they're reading it, they understand it, because there are other things going. We haven't taken our position on X yet, but we are sowing the seed. Some of you have already joined as followers, you know what I'm talking about. But we haven't put any title, any topics up. The reason is, you cannot offer peace when peace outside US creates a war inside US, because you can't sell guns, you can't sell ammunition. You created peace outside, so you have to do it inside. And the only way is to introduce a new attraction, a new technology, which sciences can go into it and develop, and plasma technology is parallel to that, and we are working on it. I work nearly 20 hours a day around it, in collaboration with some governments, and more or less, this goes back what we can come to agreements internationally, because you have to understand, once the American withdraw, the Chinese are very aggressive to come in, because they have spent billions on arms and they want to use it. Now it's a catch-22, and how the technology will change. Our knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation in the next few days making a presentation in a military space defense on behalf of the Keshe Foundation, a presentation by invitation of the government. And we have to emphasize in this presentation that diplomacy of knowledge has to be the next step. And to what extent we bring peace, and then we see the reflection of it back on. Just sit down for 2 minutes and add up. United States in the past 12 months has put over $25 billion plus, we reckon it's about 40-45 billion just into, as weapons, missiles, into Israel. In the past 2 years, they have put nearly 200 billion into Ukraine, all military hardware. And a very interesting one is an amazing, interesting picture which I saw, which in a way, you know, the way I think and the way I talk, If I find a picture, you'll be amazed. I wasn't amazed when I saw it, but it's very interesting to see a priest blessing guns. This is how shows deep the clergy are involved in killing. When a priest blesses with the holy water guns that it kills people, I think it's in Ukraine. Then you understand where the problem sits and how our problems come to exist. That most of the wars are led, watered by the religious people. And once we can overcome that, we have entered another dimension, and we are in that position in the process at the moment. And let us see if I find this picture somewhere on the internet. It's amazing, a priest blessing guns to kill with. In God's sake's name, where does these people get their guts to do this? But it's interesting, extremely interesting, how things will take shape in the next 60 days if Trump doesn't change position and doesn't retract. And then you will see the change many of us have been waiting for. But then his administration needs total support, absolute support, to come up with a backup, what they call system that can support the process of peace, which can exist and last in Gaza and the rest of the world. I think Trump has chewed more than he can swallow with this when it comes. By closing the factories to make arms, then weakens the position of the United States unless he can come up with something bigger to create jobs, and internal problems will become part of its work.
Recording progress.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, I got it back.
Yeah, I put those 3 keywords into Google that you suggested: the priest blessing guns. And so we have a choice. Were you referring to Catholic priests?
Yes, you see
Or
it.
the Russian Orthodox priest?
All
Or the Russian priests? Or the St. Michael's Catholic Church, and so on and so forth? It's more or less choose your religion and you can have them blessing, a picture of them blessing guns, you know. This is very strange, but you're right. It seems to be at the root of I mean, any one of these it's all about the blessing of the guns.
Yeah, with the holy water. Who receives that bullet? Is somebody's father, is somebody's son, is somebody's child. The interesting thing is, in the latest communications from what we're getting with Trump administration going into the war in Ukraine, as you, I don't know, heard or not, there was a very high temper shouting going on in a meeting between Trump, the gypsy, and the French president this week in Paris. Trump in no shape or form missed anything to tell the guy exactly what he thinks. And as you heard the American press, how come the guy wears a suit when he goes to beg for money to European community and other places, but when he comes to see the American president, he comes in a gypsy suit? Trying to play the beggar I'm weak. And he got his whack. And he's been given an ultimatum the first week Trump is in position. He can say goodbye. He's already applied for 9 countries in Europe for asylum, the president of Ukraine. And the data coming from CIA shows hundreds of thousands, more than what Ukrainian up to now were confirming dead, have actually died. 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers have died only last week. 30,000. We talk about 45,000 people killed in Gaza in over a year. Last week alone, the data statistics which confirm more or less over 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers have disappeared. Son, a father, or somebody with these countries here. 30,000 in 1 week. Multiply it, divided by 3, let's say 10,000 over, what do you call it? Maybe 2.5 years, 150 weeks, let's say 130 weeks. 1.3 million. Plus civilians and the rest.
Mr. Keshe, your audio's fading a bit there. I think maybe this
Somebody
microphone.
doesn't want us to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what it is. Gaza will finish what we see if Netanyahu is begging for his life. He's trying to negotiate with Democrats to stay in power when the Republicans come in. And we are, from the Iranian government point of view, we are washing our hands. It's nothing to do with us. We sit on the side of the peace, and we want peace for Palestinians and the rest of humanity. This guy somehow fighting for his own life and trying to set everybody else. And it will not happen. We are fully aware of it. And the game is over for Netanyahu. He might get back the hostages, but the stand for it that he has to step down. The hostages will not be given till he steps down. We saw that very much with, if you remember, the Peanut Man. When the Iranian hostages were taken in the Iranian embassy, were not given to him till the next president came in. And the first few days when he came in, negotiation was completed, and hostages were given as a gift back. I think we'll see the same thing. One of the conditions that will come down on the table, Netanyahu has to step down. Or a structure that when it's done, he will, because he won't become glorified with releasing the hostages. But we'll see. Once the hostages are released, there is no ground for them to be in. And secondly, Israeli forces have run out of ammunition, and Israeli soldiers have given up fighting because they don't want to fight. We've seen some figures recently from securities, over 18,000 dead. That's huge. That's huge. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. We have a hand up here, and let's let Azar go ahead. Hello, Azar. Are you ready to speak?
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, Rick. I have a question regarding this time communication. When we, in terms of going to the past and going to the future, the reason I'm asking this question, this comes from experiencing that you see glimpses. You're sitting someplace, you see glimpses of the future, and you're sitting in it, and you're experiencing it. At the moment that you go through it, you don't know what is going on, but then those glimpses that you went through, it happens exactly a year, 2 years later. So what was happening? I mean, it could be you're reading a postcard, or you're sitting and thinking about something, and that's something, you see a glimpse of that, and then a moment, like seeing a picture, a movie, piece of a movie of your life in the future. So what is happening, that communication? There's two questions arises here. That communication, how did it come about? Is it the interaction of the soul with the physical soul that is trying to give a message? Or another question is the future fixed? Because then the question comes, if the destiny, if our life has a like a plan written already, like a movie, and we actually step into it every day, just following that movie, and at the end it finishes. So it seems to me it's like this. So how this timeline come to us like that? What happens here? What's the mechanism?
First of all, nice having you back from Iran. That's why we hear you. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
I know you did. The reality is two things. The past will stay as a memory, or what we have on the films. There is no way we can replicate in a physical way the past. And we cannot go and back to the future except through memory, because and what we recorded, because the plasma is dynamic, it moves. If you look at it this way, if you launch a rocket today from Earth, and the Earth is moving 1,600 kilometers an hour, the images of this in the space will go, it's blurred. It's what we picture, we see in the matter state of it. So back to future, to see, going back and seeing it is impossible. It doesn't matter who says what. The future is set through interaction of the fields. And part of it, to us, is a time lapse physical, which means it happens in the dimension of the soul, but it takes time for it to manifest itself in the dimension of physicality. And we all know this. We call it in French, they call it déjà vu. Or you're seeing this somewhere, but it's back there again, and you see it for a second time. There is a time lapse. It could be instantaneous, or we write something, we see they call it, what do you call it? People who tell the future, understanding the process of the interaction. One is just a time delay, but in fact the souls have already played. I teach about this in a coming time. And the process which happens, which can be done, and the process is a part of the knowledge we denied ourselves to, but it has been there all the time.
So, Mr. Keshe, so is not our future is already, everything is step by step is planned? It means we're not
partially yes, partially our dimension of the energy is more advanced. It's like, you know, you have an outrider running ahead of you. He sees there's a danger or there's something happening, and it tells you, you know, you're coming to a car accident, or try to stop or whatever, or take a right hand before you get to junction, there's a traffic jam. Our soul plays that game. It's the speed of the interaction, strength of the field of interaction. So in a way the players are there to do.
But Mr. Keshe, من گفتم که انقدر دست و پا میزنم، اصلا واسه چی دست و پا دیگه میزنی؟ همینجور وایس خودش میره دیگه.
Do you want to speak English?
Yeah, I do. دست و پا زدن نمیدونم چی میشه.
They say, what Azar says is we struggle. And what's the purpose of all this struggle when everything is said? The thing is, everything is set because what we do sets scene for the others. It is not just that it's set for us. We are the tools in setting up other things for the others. And it's the process of creation.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Yeah. It's part of what they call time delay between the soul and the manifestation in physicality. It's in a way we do it. We suffer from something, and then we wish to be dead, and then we create our own cancer and we kill ourselves. Time delay 7 years. Emotion, the soul of physicality, and manifestation of physicality.
Are we here to learn the emotion of the trust of the trust in the Creator, as you mentioned earlier?
In a way, partially, yes, but we are here, as I always said, we are that onion needs to be planted somewhere to flower. And this is a greenhouse called Earth. And that seed is the soul of the man.
What kind of a flower Netanyahu is going to give when it's going to be planted someplace else?
Don't think about Netanyahu, think about Obama. If he killed 30,000, 40,000, 1 million homeless, Obama has done 30, 40 times worse. The nice guy is just because the media made him nice because he made a lot of money for their weapon technology.
I believe he got the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, it depends how you spell the peace.
How you spell it? Peace, yeah. He sold lots of pieces.
Yeah. Any other question? With the situation coming to an end, hopefully in Gaza and Ukraine, humanity now will be pushed towards peace. As I said to our colleagues in the government, that we have to bear the banner of peace with technology. And that will change. As I said to, we have a man who has the audacity and the strength and the courage to do things which nobody could think. You will understand, hopefully, if everything goes the way we wish. I explained in 2025, the Iranian embassy in Washington will be reopened. And we have made an open gesture or open invitation for American administration to join the Iranian New Year in March. The reason is not by talk. The reason is because a lot of work is getting done. And the image which Netanyahu and what you call the present American administration has made has brought to make that double and equal. Iran needs to step down from certain actions, which we all know doesn't help much, but we're getting to understanding of it. And then, as I said, there's one way only. When you don't have wars, you have a lot of unemployment. Military arms creates jobs because when you made the weapons, you have to find the soldiers. So now you employ both sides. And then they kill each other, then the money made for the church. So the religions, the military, the manufacturing have to come to an arrangement. Somehow we start making money. And we're getting that somewhere heard. But you cannot tell a guy don't do if you don't give an alternative to it. And the alternative is new technology. Biden continuously hit, destroyed, blocked Keshe Foundation. The same with Obama. I can give you case after case with Obama, even though we work with him, we try to keep a communication going. No one did more harm to Keshe Foundation than Obama, but we still keep going. Same with Biden. If Biden would have released the message and the report which delivered by the Keshe Foundation to IEA in early 20s, and then the head of IEA traveled within 4 days from receiving the report from Keshe Foundation in the hand of Dr. Grossi to Iran, and he said Israelis lie, and Biden could have taken the step, the war would have stopped. Everything about Iran being demonized would have been finished. Biden wouldn't do it because he was making a lot of money. And then we see the consequence of all the wars. Very soon we'll release the early 2020s report of the Keshe Foundation to IEA with an email to IEA confirming and the date, and then confirm it through the receipts of the IEA and the traveling of the Grossi to Iran. Within 4 days, the evidence we submitted in the report is so strong, IEA could not deny it, because it was delivered at the same time to the Iranian ambassador. At the same time, it was delivered to the American ambassador. We have all the emails, the dates, everything is there. Trump listens. They understand how Biden hid the report to be able to get us to where we are now, because he made a lot of money out of guns. We see a lot of changes. I see primarily Trump will change the American Constitution in so many ways in the next 2-3 years. Permanent presidency. Altering the presidency that if you're not American, as long as you carry American passport, you can stand the president. You don't need to be born in America. Which allows Musk to become the next president. We see other things, and this needs basis of peace. The huge majority in Senate and the House, and president are from the same House, they will rewrite part of the Constitution. Quite possible. Would we see the repeat of what happened in Russia? President back to prime minister, back to president. It says 2 terms, but it doesn't say that one term escape or 1 term gap. Musk will become the next president. We see if Trump had it up 90, still as good as today, we ask his wife, then we'll see a continuation of Constitution. There's a lot at risk with this election, but there's a lot to gain for the Americans, more than anybody else. We have to wait and see. He is not in the office still, some 50 days to go, but he's start changing a lot of things. But he's got a big pitfall. You have to create jobs to replace it, otherwise they replace you. And the new technology is the only way to win. Keshe Foundation and couple of other technologies will bring that in, because we touch everything from farming to health to space to energy and everything else, and it's all one integrated system. It's the promised technology which was promised by a lot of people, now is there, and you're amongst it, you're part of it, you created as knowledge seekers. The message hasn't changed. It's just how you hear it and how much more you know it. We saw with the intro of today. To children 10 years ago, 2014, and 2024, it's the same message, but now you understand more and more of it. You have system, we can do more of it, then it becomes more clear. As I always said, we are in one classroom, like a village, from nursery to university, sitting in the same class. We teach according to the understanding of the nursery guy, the same thing, and the ones which are older in different way, but the same knowledge. But the biggest problem we face, and I already discussed it with the government officials, is mosque. We know our problem doesn't sit with Trump anymore. Our problem sits with mosque, because everything he's involved in becomes zero unless he evolves. Evolution of science through using Tesla cars, using SpaceX is obsolete, but facilities for it to bring the scientists on the edge of young scientists in NASA, which is dilapidated and is gone, into operation. Musk has to move into new plasma technology, or Musk become the biggest obstruction because he wants to protect what is built. But we see him to be more agile. He understands he has to move. We'll see how the game changes. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Let me see here. We have in our Q&A from Anonymous, you mentioned Donald Trump. Anonymous is asking or says, Donald Trump has promised more mass deportation of illegal immigrants again. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa. Will Donald Trump's mass deportation of everyone who isn't American affect the sale of Tesla electric vehicles? I think you kind of answered that question in a way already.
Yeah, you got to understand, he says illegal. Musk is there legally. He went in illegally, but he managed to get himself legalized, if you know about his life story. What he says is illegal immigrants. As I said to one of our diplomats a few days ago, we were laughing, rolling on the table more or less with it. If you understand what these illegal immigrants do in America, farming, agriculture, all the dirty jobs, which the Americans don't want to do. So now you deport 20 million illegal immigrants. It's good. But now you create a piece, you have 20 million scientists and working in all these arm factories have to do the job of the, what do you call it, the Mexicans. Then, yeah, there is a balance. You pay a PhD guy wages of a farmer. Now you understand. He takes out, but he has to create in, but he destroyed the job, he can give them a job to it. So it will most probably, most of the NASA people will end up to start farming where the Mexicans have been kicked out because they need to live there with a farm. And if they're lucky, they become farmers that Trump will give them some grants and something else and something else. Yes. He says illegal immigrants. But as long as you have to understand there is a lot of technicality with this election of Trump and the things that's been said. Vice President has an Indian wife. Now you understand why they didn't get most of the votes for their first lady to become president. Why Harrison lost? Because supposedly the first, what do you call it, lady, nothing, but the second lady, vice president, has an Indian wife. So what's going to happen to that one? Then we have the president who has green card wife who's not American. And then we have a man who runs the White House, and then Musk was not American at all. His grandfather was born in America, as he says. So we all know the bed decides the future and the life of the man outside. You don't keep the wife happy, you're in trouble outside. And we got two foreigners sitting in the beds in the White House and next to it. Then you understand. You kick too much, you're out of the bed. So let's play the game. But we'll see different things. It's the first time we have seen such a position, and in a way, when Trump played the name of the race and Indians or the black, speak to the vice president, so we know what they say. She's not of American origin, or is American, but of different race. We don't see her much in campaigning, but now going to the White House, everything else has to stand on the front row. Very, very interesting. Would they deport their own wives? Forget about the rest of it. Mosque is nothing. Would they have a bed to sleep in? That's another thing. It's very interesting, the politics of the United States, but affects more or less all of us. We know how Roosevelt's wife played the game and how she changed the whole game of the White House. Let's see what this time these two will do. Any other question?
We certainly live in interesting times.
Don't forget, you Canadians are becoming 51 states.
That's what Trump was teasing Mr. Trudeau with. And
you have no choice, huh? Years ago, you had, was it your 1 point parity and the rest of it. Now you're more or less nothing in economically compared to the Americans. Trudeau did all the damage.
well, California may separate from the mainland of the U.S. and I mean more figuratively than literally, and maybe literally too with the earthquakes. And Canada may be part of that in a way. I don't know.
You never know.
Our policies are similar to California.
They say California is the tail of the dog. It's like a tail is sticking at the end of it. Depends which way you wag the tail.
Mm-hmm.
Any other question, or shall we call it a day?
No, you have to get going soon.
11:30, I have to leave. I've got a meeting.
Let me see, from Desi, who says, can you please explain the benefits of one of the products from your store, the Trinity Site GANS?
Trinity Site GANS has two purposes. Sight as seeing, sight as the elevation of the soul. And is developed specifically the new side GANS, which is, because we keep on updating it continuously, all the GANSes, literally every time a batch finishes to the next batch is a slightly different, improved version. A lot of things, the, what do you call it, the new GANSes are going to be an evolution, the new cycle. The more or less, we will release continuously upgrading with GANSes, because now GANSes are produced in the GANSes you get are produced in 2-3 different locations, but sent out from one place. Different locations provide different materials, and then we put it together in one structure and it goes out. So development is coming from different angles, and the side GANS and even the pole GANS, the knee GANS, the new ones coming out in the next cycle, next week or two, are totally different with amazing structure results. You have to understand something. Most of these GANSes you use is because I use it. And when I perfect it on me, you get it. Like the knee GANS. When we put the knee GANS out, it was because I had an accident with my knee. They told me I need a new cap. And I said, no cap, no gap. I developed it. I went up about 40, 50 steps like a bullet yesterday. And they tell me on the, what do you call it, MRI, my bone needs a blah blah, or my kneecap, and there's nothing there. Because they don't understand, we create an environment of the bone is irrelevant. And it's the same with the sight. Looking for a sight to see, at the same time, the soul, the sight of the soul. It's very interesting. We get a lot of things done. I usually let things go as far as it can go, and then I find a solution for it. And these are the things, the side GANs I use. But the new version is much better because very soon, I had this written to me yesterday, I think the day before, by Azar. If you can make man's hair grow, you know how much they love you. We are testing, and amazing results we see. The hairs, you could count, now you can put your fingers through it. And I was watching it yesterday being brushed. And when we announced the hair GANs, I think we'll sell about 1 million bottles in one day. But it's going through the process. The same is with what we call GANs for other applications. Understanding what it delivers, understanding what's the process. And don't forget, all these gases have a connection with the soul, have a connection with emotion. You're not dealing with medicine, you're dealing with yourself. It's a main factor. And you have to understand how to use it, how you apply it. Any other question?
Yes, regarding wellness in particular, Doug asked, what's the best way to contact the Wellness Center? And I was going to suggest, is that still the office at de.kfwellness.center?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, let me just put that on the screen here so people can
No.
have a look at it. Pardon me.
There are 2, 3, 4 doctors who work support, but Dr. Kern is in charge of everything.
Okay, so people have their health questions, they can address that.
Don't forget, as I said, the beauty with us is you as knowledge seekers understand you're the volunteers, but stop us getting data tampered with to look good. We work it, you tell us, and we take it to the next step through you. There is no tampering with. It is what it is, and it does what it says, and we are part of the structure of development. And maybe things changes in the next few weeks. I have a lot of, not hopes, but things getting done, and there'll be huge changes in the structure and the international operation of the Keshe Foundation in the next few weeks, hopefully.
Well, speaking of international, there's a, in the webinar chat here, you might have noticed the last 3 entries are, besides Doug, is from Mathurajan, I think that might be how it's pronounced, from India, who mentions he has connections with the prominent party member and was asked to provide documents related to the Keshe Foundation technology, and he wants to be guided on how to proceed with that kind of request, and mentions he's having trouble with the Keshe Foundation website for some reason.
If you send info at Keshe Foundation. Some of them respond to you. We structure political and diplomatic works in a different way. A lot of people have contacts, a lot of people know, but you got to understand politics has layers, and many Indian politicians and people know about the Keshe Foundation, but we never managed to structure India and the Keshe Foundation banner. I don't understand how, but it is part of what it is. It's diversity or the problem we don't understand. But we have huge number of knowledge seekers in India, but somehow in the government, well known, they know about Keshe Foundation. From your, what do you call it, president down to the others, but, or your prime minister, but the structure is, doesn't allow anything to move due to its diversity. We sit and watch. We made many presentations with the Indians officials, many. But somehow, it seems when you speak to the Indian politicians, you need anything to move, you have to go with a truck of dollars. They might listen. Corruption is too heavy in India with the politicians.
Okay, we have another, I put the address in the chat there so that he has that to send off and get more information. We had a question from Dankin and from Africa, and it's kind of a health question, but maybe you can answer it in some way that's correct, which is, hello, Mr. Keshe. One of my friends has pneumonia. How can we help him? Dankin is a new knowledge seeker who's just about making GANSs. Pardon me?
Look into cup 1.
Cup 1.
Cup 1 and cup 2. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good advice. That information is available on the KF Wikipedia is probably one good place to find it, as well as some other videos and sites that might have the info. Shall we carry on with a couple more questions?
More. I've got about 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. All right, we have a question from Stefania that's come up in our chat here earlier, so I want to address it. And it's from the, I'm not sure if it's from her or from the Italian sector, and it's a little bit broken a bit here, but let me piece it together. Last week you spoke about the sperm and the egg, and of the egg that can become fertile if you change the salinity of the womb of the mother. But what it was not clear for me was when you said that the uterus depletes the sperm and egg because of higher level. I thought the higher gives to the lower, not the other way around. Can you explain better that process?
You see, you call it uterus, but in a way uterus is part of the soul. And it's the inertia. Once you create that soul of the child in the field effect of leads to creation of the soul, is the soul of the mother which feeds the soul of the child. And uterus is that inertia which we spoke about today. If you look at miscarriages, if you look at partially people cannot get pregnant, and you change the environment of the inertia or the environment of the womb, you will get a condition of stability or a charge to create a first soul. I explained this to a mother in the past. Maybe it can be understood. The soul of the mother is like the soul of the creator, and is aware of the conduct of the soul within a womb, which he creates. The soul of the mother is like planet Earth. It's just a greenhouse growing the seed. So when we say this, the soul of the man is that seed, which then it released in the space of the universe to become that. So the soul of the mother brings emotion, the energy fields to manifest itself in the matter state, which is a child. And in that process, you can add to it, you can extend it, you can interact with it, or you can create condition of. And with external field forces, which is at the level of the energy of the plasma, you can interact. There is a knowledge which we never teach. I will never teach this knowledge because man is not ready for it. But we just talked about GANSes. They say, what's the GANS of this and that? But it's in the technology of your GANSes you take from the Keshe Foundation. We don't teach it. I never teach it because man doesn't understand it. But we produce certain GANSes in one of our positions that it brings that part of knowledge into the cycle. This knowledge, man is not ready to understand. World of science, if I explain it, cannot understand. And this is one of the reasons you think, oh, I didn't physically change, but emotionally you changed, and that emotional changes its physicality. Then this is part of the same process. As I said, when we were in one of our structures to get certification, the guy in charge told me, my wife doesn't get pregnant. You say everything does, your thing does. You want me to get your certification? It's a disgrace or something like this in our culture when a woman cannot get pregnant. And with all the beliefs that devil sits in and everything. He said, if you can help me with my wife having a child, I will help you with your certification because I've seen everything works. But you talk, I want to see it, and then no problem. Within less than 3 months, 2 months, she was pregnant. I provided the GANSes for it. And they've been trying for years. I understand the process of creation. And I try to put it in the word of the man to understand. There is no woman on this planet put in my hand which cannot get pregnant through the use of the technology. And we can mass produce it. As I said, go back to Keshe Foundation in Belgium, 2008, 2009. Women in their 70s, 80s, they got their menstruation back. And I used to tell them to their husband, be careful, grandpa doesn't become a papa. Unless you know you're here under 30 years. It's not playing, it's understanding. And some of the knowledge we carry in Keshe Foundation will never be shared. Because mankind is not ready for it. understanding how to work with the energies than injections. Today's teaching, if you understood it, covers this question in a very broader way, in a much deeper way. The knowledge is there. The technology is there, but humanity is not ready for it. At the same time, if we start doing everything with 100% result, we become magician, and then technology loses the connection to humanity, because then it becomes a magic. We have, I always said, what you hear, what you see in public is not even 5% of what we do. What we have goes on in research and development, or has been developed. 95% mankind is not ready for. So we call it a day.
We have one hand up. I'm wondering if we can get in Mehran before we leave here. Before you leave, that'd be okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. I tried to be short. I have a question about plasma, a question about when we were talking about these things. Is it wise in the plan of creation that we feel heartbreak when we see the destructions and the life? So how could we justify not to be sad about these things? What's the wisdom? I know wisdom is not to be sorrowful of it. How could we justify not to be sad about the destructions? As you said, there is not just the Christians which pray. There are those with mightiful guns who kill the soldiers who have their hands up in their Syria. They killed them with multitude of balls of the gunshot, and they say Allahu Akbar. So it's just, and this destruction is so painful, all these historical things and loot and bombing.
This is the
How could
habit.
we do?
This is the habit. I know exactly what you're talking about. I had this discussion less than 24 hours ago with a knowledge seeker. Exact this discussion. He says, why do you suffer when you have all the solutions? I explained that if I don't understand, I cannot find a solution that the man understands. Otherwise, it'll be a myth, a magic. And with it, it brings a lot of pain and suffering, a lot of other things to it. But it is part of the structure, part of understanding that we don't have to suffer to learn, but the humanity has gone in a way that you understand how the man suffers, that he can show it to him is the other way around. And this is part of the structure, a part of the human way of living, and we see a lot of it. But you have to understand why man suffers. Would the children of Mitra go through the same thing? They have to understand those who are connected to this planet or any other structure in the universe, what it feels to be on the physical dimension and how you can change it in the energy direction, what you call the soul, that it changes the emotional physicality. You cannot explain it, you cannot see it, but when you look at past couple of thousand years plus, man has created most of his suffering through not understanding his creator. The true meaning of what the creation is and the creator works, part of what we explained today. And once we understand this, we go to the next level of understanding. Once we move to that level, once we cross that threshold of knowledge, if you ask someone, I talk to a lot of people, and one of our knowledge seekers very nicely put it to government officials very recently. He knows what I'm talking about. So Mr. Keshe is 66. He's not going to be here that long. We better do everything we can, or otherwise, we're going to miss something somewhere. And I said, 66 of how many? But why do we stay here? It's not suffering, is seeing a solution for the others in the long run, not to hurt, not to do. There is a structure which we see. As I said, the wars, religious wars, are more or less coming over, hopefully, with Trump. We will not see the wars which we used to see. Nationalism wars are over because no nation can afford doing other things. But sectarian and religious, which most of it comes from sectarian, from religion, should come to an end first. Because they are the ones who fan the fire of hate. And opening the technology, is the way it has to be. I see a beautiful thing in operation, and that's why we opened the exchange of the Keshe Foundation. That the teaching, mass teaching, through channels like this, will bring the world leaders and the others to start looking in a new way, and it's easier to teach and brings in what we are looking for. You have to bring, I explained, as I'm very open about it, as we are negotiating with a number of governments with the Keshe Foundation, we see structures like American administration, the PowerPoint. We see people like Musk as those who can communicate across and have the financial position of whatever. And the technology like Keshe Foundation, a triad that can bring that change. The power at the high level is there. The people who already use the technology of the Keshe Foundation, different names, and they know it themselves, like Musk, and the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation and having structures like X will bring that dynamic which we are looking for to create the world peace. And this is one of the reasons today teaching has to end very early. We're involved in that part of that process. But in that process, we can't leave the Russians out. We can't leave the Chinese out. Our biggest problem is the Britons. If you bring the British in to understand they don't need, the young boy has a bit of understanding of it, but he's got that old man sitting still there, maybe situation changes. Then that triad of power, finance, and technology work together, we reach that world peace we are looking for. And then man doesn't need to experience, but we still have the accidents. Our spaceships will go We lose 100,000, 200,000, 50,000 one ship. We cannot stop these things. But this deliberate killing, destructions, killing each other for the faith, belief has to end. And it'll come to an end because once we start teaching technology, people understand the structure of the creation, the way it's done in the past 500 now teaching, the three pillars of peace are coming together: power, finance, and technology, and to enforce it. And one cannot do without others. It needs time. And once one of the world religious leaders puts a gun down, the rest will be done. And we're moving in that direction.
Thank you very much, sir. I got my answer. Thank you. And I have my answer for next time.
Thank you very much. I have to leave. I do apologize. We have a
God bless
meeting
you.
today.
Good
Thank you
luck
very
to
much for
you, sir.
today. Thank you very much today. And hopefully we'll see you next Thursday. Those of you who coming to the session next Friday, be ready for a very big surprise for your Christmas. You might go in or go out with more than what you bargained to come in with. But I hope you enjoy the bargain. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Thank you very much.
Okay, I've got a quick comment for you for your peace talks, Mr. Keshe. And here's the statistic, a quarter of all the microplastics in the world, which is a lot, come from tires. If we can go vertical, we've cleaned up a quarter of all those microplastics. So that could be something that could stimulate people that are into the climate crisis and other such things, and it might be part of a negotiation somewhere down the line. Thank you for everything, Mr. Keshe. I know you need to get going there.
Thank you. Until next time. Thank you very much.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, that wraps up our 568th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 12th, 2024. And our next public teaching workshop, let me get my calendar up here. And we're looking at, that would be Tuesday, December 17th. And that will be the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace, with members of the Universal Council and support members for the Universal Council. And that starts at the 4 p.m. Central European Time, and open to members of the public, dealing with more of the soul side of the plasma technology, you could say. All right, thanks again, everyone, for being here, and thank you for the questions. Any leftover questions, please keep them for next week if you wish. And we'll see you all same time, same place next week as well. Bye for now. We'll go out with our usual light enhancement spaceship unit. And hope you all have a wonderful day wherever you are.